The assessment strategy that I've chosen to examine more closely are exit tickets. And exit tickets are really just anything that's quick, 5 minutes or less, end of the day, headed to recess, any transition time, end of a lesson, any time that you're moving from one thing to another, just throw out traditionally a scratch piece of paper and one or two questions, but really it could be anything. Um, Something to gauge the learning of students. And so super simple. Um, so they're all about reflection and metacognition. Um, and Socrates was super big on this, hundreds of years ago, when he said that the examined life is not worth living. But really, the newer part of this is bringing reflection into the classroom. And that's mostly been done by John Dewey. And he's all about reflective thinking. Since the 1980s, it's kind of been brought into the realm of education, and it applies to students and teachers. And it's all about reflecting on learning and reflecting on performance to see some sort of improvement. So, the best practices as far as exit tickets go, it's a super broad category with a lot of other assessment strategies that can be woven into it. So, take advantage of that. Use 3-2-1 or really any other strategy that you can think of, or even just principles from the other strategies. Obviously, you aren't going to have them write a whole essay in 5 minutes or less, so that's not going to work. But you can use some of those writing tools or principles in your quick exit ticket. And one of the great resources that I found in my research said, set expectations and then seek expert advice. And the experts in this case of student learning are the students themselves. So exit tickets are all about reflecting on teacher practices and getting the advice from the students. You need to get that feedback and know whether what you're doing is working or not and how to fix that. So consulting the students is really important. And then you need to use their feedback for immediate change. And the students should know that the change has happened, whether it's in your teaching practice or in the content that you're teaching, whether you're reviewing stuff from last time, answering the questions that they may have had. Whatever you're doing, the change should be immediate, and students need answers and they need feedback. So when you're creating an exit ticket, keep it simple. It should be directly related to whatever you've just taught. No more than a couple questions. It's getting too complicated. 3-2-1 is a super popular exit ticket tool, which just means 3 things that students have learned, 2 things that they find interesting, and 1 question that they may have, and they just jot those down on a piece of paper real quickly. And then another new one is using Twitter and social media through an application called TweetDeck that we'll look at really briefly in a moment to do a quick exit ticket. And in this example, we're talking 2nd grade time. So I just taught a lesson on 2nd grade time, and I said grab a scratch piece of paper and a pen, and we're going to draw an analog clock of the time 3:15. Obviously, it's a super crude drawing. You expect nothing more from your students. You just want something quick, easy, as long as they're along the general correct lines that you're trying to get them to, that's a win. And then you want any questions that they may have or concerns, comments, whatever about the lesson. And then we're going to look at TweetDeck really quickly. So this is TweetDeck. You just log into Twitter, and then what's cool about this is that students can tweet 140 characters or less. They just go on and write their quick exit tickets, and then you have the ability to monitor and change which specific users you're seeing so that you don't see everybody and you aren't all bogged down by everything. So it's just a really great tool for organizing and doing that online. For scoring, these should be ungraded. You're really scoring teacher effectiveness. You're not scoring the students. You need to note changes and remember that it's all about reflection. You need to go over any areas that need further instruction. You need to fix any problems that you may have seen. But it's not about grading the students. Student feedback, again, should be immediate. Students should see the change, and you got to remember that this is a formative tool. It's really all about the reflection and improvement. So you got to get back to those students quickly with specific, clear feedback that's really going to help them moving forward.